Hello guys, and welcome to another multiple apps workflow tutorial with me, Eldarin from Logiciel Lumiere. Today I'm happy to present the Lumiere Rig Tools, a tool set that I've designed that will allow you to auto-rig a character and transfer weights between any custom character that you may have designed in something like Houdini or Maya or 3ds Max or Daz or anywhere where you might have rigged up a bone system and you set some weights, and now you want to drive another skeleton here in Cinema. Alright. The Lumiere Rig Tools also don't necessarily require you to transfer the weight. The reason why I included the weight transfer is, especially with Daz workflows, the skeleton that you get out of Daz, because of the weird rotations it has and the way that the legs are angled, it can be interesting with your controllers to kind of sort of get, meaningful animation out of it, as far as the rotations are concerned, or as far as, just kind of sort of keying your controls. So the weights transfer is really good. It allows you to take another rig that you might create really fast in here and transfer your Genesis character over there, or for that matter any character that has like kind of sort of like a weird bone hierarchy or a hierarchy that just doesn't appeal to you. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to go over the character rig itself. This is the template by which either the weights will be transferred to, or by which the controls will be added onto. So this is the most important template to fill out here. Alright. But first let's go over the installation of the plugin here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this folder that I've created for this project. And when you purchase and download the plugin, you'll get a zip file similarly named to this. It'll probably have a version number on the end of it. In this case, we're working right now with version 1.2. Alright, so if you double click and open that, you'll have a few things in here. One thing is a README, and this will show you where to install your plugin. So on Windows, that's typically C program files, Maxon, Cinema 4D, R, and whatever version you have, and then the plugins folder. And on OS X, that's normally located in your applications folder. Same kind of sort of general path. Alright, so that's a helper that'll allow you to kind of sort of get that going. The naming templates include some common naming templates. I only have one right now, the Motion Builder naming template. But these are just common naming templates that the industry uses for various rigs, and they'll allow you to quickly be able to fill out this character rig. Now, if you have, if you're working in a production pipeline at your studio and you have a custom naming template that you always use for your rigs or whatever, or a bone naming convention that you always use for rigs, you can set up the rig here, and then you can go under File and you can save out the naming template. Vice versa, you can go under File and load a naming template, of course. Alright. The Lumiere Rig Tools themselves, this actual folder contains the plugin, Mac version, 64-bit version, and if anybody is running the 32-bit version, that is also included, although that probably will rarely get used. And then what you would do is you would drag this out of your zip folder directly into C program files, Maxon, Cinema 4D, R16, just like so. You just drag and drop right into the folder, and that'll go. Alright, so that takes care of the installation. Let's see, so coming over here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, before we start here, she's a Genesis character. So what I want to do is I want to actually create a rig that has better definitions of like the z-axis rotations and different things like that, just to make it easier for me to animate, and so I don't have really crazy numbers as far as my rotations and things are concerned. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the character object here in Cinema, introduced in R13, to go ahead and actually create a mocap template here. And the template that we're going to use is going to be the motion builder template. That's going to match our naming template that I've included with the plugin. And we're going to go ahead and hold Control and Shift, which is going to allow us to stay in this level of the hierarchy. So actually, if I just hold, if I just basically left click here, it'll create one arm. It'll move down the hierarchy to now the arm is selected, so it's like, okay, now you can create a hand off of that arm. But it only created one arm and the spine, and it didn't really create two arms for me, and it didn't keep me at that level where I could create the legs next. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. We're going to go back to the pelvis, which will give me the options to create arms and legs, and I'm going to go ahead and hold Control will allow you to create symmetrical objects, and Shift will actually keep you in this hierarchy. So if I hold Control and Shift, I created two arms and I'm still here, and now I can hold Control Shift and create a leg, and I'm still here, and now I've got arms and legs. Alright, and that's pretty much all I want to do right now. Let me see, click on the left leg. Yeah, it automatically creates feet controls for you, which is really great. Alright, we'll create the hands a little bit later after we've kind of snapped everything. So what we can do now in the character object is go into adjust mode, and in here what we can do is we can use our snapping, 3D snapping, and turn off vertex snapping, and finally turn on axis snapping. And all these tools can be found under the snapping menu. I've just docked them to my interface really nicely here. But we can come in with our pelvis now, and with the move tool, and we can go ahead and start to snap these controls over. Now what we want to do is we want to actually click in the gray space, and that'll actually move this whole entire thing in all 3 dimensions for us. If we just use one of these axis handles here and try to move it just in those 2 dimensions, it's not going to really move in. When you start to move your perspective view, you're going to see that your bone's going to be off in 1 dimension, which would really suck. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take care of some of the spines. And if you have a character that has, less than the usual amount of spines, like the Genesis character, for instance, only has like 3 spine bones, but this character here actually has 4. You can just go ahead and just move the one spine kind of sort of in the general direction. And for this spine we use the axis so that we won't move it off of the 0 plane here, so that it's just going straight. Alright, and so we're going to go ahead and move now the chest, once again clicking in that gray space, and move it to snap. Alright, so moving along here, we can go ahead and grab the arms now and snap them, and grab the forearm, click in gray space, snap that, go into the hands and snap that, come over here to the neck, and we can go ahead and snap that, and we can go to the head and we can snap that to here. Great. In this way our character kind of sort of keeps the general pivots that the Genesis character had. We're going to change that up for the legs though. Let's go ahead and move the left leg upper area to snap it to the leg, and then we're going to change up things a little bit here. We're going to take the knee and we're going to move it and snap it to the leg here. Then we're going to get out of snapping mode, and we're going to go into world move mode, and we're just going to move the Y down directly to kind of sort of match the level of knee. Now why are we doing this? Well, when we get ready to animate, I've noticed that because of the odd angle that the Genesis rig's bone typically comes at, and this happens with other rigs too sometimes, like sometimes you get 3ds Max rigs in production, and the characters will have oddly angled out legs. And when you move your foot control up, the foot, because of the way the bones are set up and because of the way IK works, it'll create a angle to your IK that causes the leg to kind of sort of bend up in this general direction. Let's use the doodle tool here, and so it'll bend up kind of sort of in this way. It'll arc, you know, this way, but at an angle like this. And that's just, it's not like a really good look. You typically want your leg, I mean, in real life, if you were to like bend your leg just up, you know, straight, it would go straight up, you know, to your stomach area, kind of sort of here. So that's how I like my rig to work, and that's the reason why I kind of sort of do this initially, so that I know when I bend my foot directly up, I know it'll always just go straight up instead of kind of going at an angle. Alright, so if we switch back to the move tool, that's the reason why I'm removing the knee directly down, and we're making sure that it's in a direct line straight down from the leg. Now we can go ahead and enable snapping again, and we can go ahead and move the foot also and make sure that it in turn is also in the correct area. So we just turned on snapping, snapped the foot there, and then turned off snapping and then moved it down to make sure it doesn't snap to this this joint here. Now what you're going to see is that typically, especially if your legs are like really far apart, your character is not going to, the bone system's not going to quite fit in the leg, and that can be unsightly, and that can also cause, on occasion, like some weird weighting. It won't happen in this particular case because we're transferring the weights directly, but we may want to go ahead and, you know, select the leg again and just, you know, move it and make sure that the foot is on top of the foot bone, and then the rest of the leg, it doesn't matter that it's off of its bone chain a little bit, as long as the whole entire leg is in the hierarchy just a little bit, and that's fine. Now for the feet, I kind of like to keep them where they're at. Generally, once I'm done with organizing the knee, the foot typically has a pretty good location for the most part. We are going to move the foot controller itself so it's actually near the pivot of the ankle, of course. But for the most part, I generally just move these in the Y and Z direction. Try to keep them in their natural plane as they fall. And then the foot itself, we can just basically put here on the end and just keep it the way it was. Alright, and so that pretty much takes care of our skeleton. Now what we're going to want to do, and we're going to go ahead and actually do an incremental save here. So we're going to go ahead and just do a save as, and I like to do this manually. We'll save this as Testa Asset 01 here. Go ahead and replace it. I was working on this before, and so I have a few extra copies of assets. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and actually create our hands. So we can go back into build mode, and everything should, you know, be exactly where it's supposed to be. And so we're going to go ahead on our arm, and we're going to go ahead and hit left hand, and that's going to create a hand for us. And then we're going to go to our right arm and do the same thing, because this this template doesn't actually create symmetrical hands directly with the Control Shift option. It considers the right and left arm kind of sort of separate, I guess, in this template. But if we go into adjust mode and we start to adjust these, so let's grab the left hand thumb base and turn on snapping. I'm going to go ahead and snap that to the hand. we'll see that in fact we do have symmetry for the hands, which is really great. So we only have to complete one hand, and we'll go ahead and snap the, which bone is that? The left hand finger base. We're going to go ahead and snap that over here and take care of that. And I'm just going to click in the gray space, just make sure that it's completely snapped. Alright. And so what you want to do here is you just want to go through and you just want to snap each one of these bones to their respective finger joints. So left hand 1 to left hand 1, left hand thumb 2 to left hand thumb 2, left hand thumb 3, and this last one, the Genesis rig itself doesn't have the end joints, which, if you'll recall from my some of my motion builder tutorials, is kind of an issue with the Genesis rig itself. Doesn't allow you to get the really cool IK that you would get in Motion Builder, and here in Cinema it also doesn't really allow you to get really good curl out of your fingers. That fourth joint is kind of sort of important. I don't know why the Genesis joint doesn't necessarily include it, but yeah, so just don't worry about that joint. We're gonna do that right now. So what we want to do is we're going to actually go into our 3 views here, and we're going to use multiple views here to go ahead and position these. We're going to go ahead and disable snapping real quick, save our file, and so in the top view, I'm looking at the top view right now. I'm going to go ahead and move this into place here using the axis handles, and now I can use the perspective view and the front view to go ahead and move it into place. So the thumb is kind of sort of clear. You can kind of easily see where it is. So it's pretty easy to get it correctly set up in both of these views. Where it gets tricky is these other fingers here. They start to kind of sort of jumble. As you can see, it's kind of like a wireframe mess here. So I'm going to go ahead and move it here. But I'm going to notice that now I'm not entirely sure which finger that this is actually supposed to go onto. So I can look at this axis here, and I'm seeing that it's blue. So that means this axis here is where I can move it. And so based on, and I'm kind of looking at all 3 views, and based on the front view, based on the top view, I'm kind of getting an idea that that joint is actually right on this finger. So I can go ahead and actually just kind of sort of move it into place that way. And so we can do the same thing for like all the other fingers basically. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll use the perspective view to go ahead and, you know, I might move in the perspective view and then I'll check, you know, the top view as well, or I'll check top front view. I'm just looking at all my views. It's kind of like driving a car a little bit. You're looking at all your mirrors kind of at once, or you know, just, you know, constantly moving your eyes between you know, the 3 different mirrors to get an idea of, you know, where the car is behind you or to the side of you or where things are. And so now we've only got like maybe one more finger we got to do. We're making pretty good progress here. So let's grab this last one, move that way, and then I believe that the pinky is over here. And so in a perspective view, I probably just want to move this in, I don't know, it seems kind of far away from everything, so I'm going to move it in this axis here. Just make sure it's tight and flush. This finger I'm going to move in the blue axis because I know that's the front axis. Get that one a little bit closer. Same thing with this one. Get that a little closer. I like where the ring finger is. And so check our handiwork, make sure that nothing kind of sort of broke and that we've still got our symmetry going. And looks like everything is good to go. Excellent. So we'll save this. And so, harkening back to like the test, to the edit workflow that I've talked about in the previous tutorial, you may want to, you probably want to keep this character definitely. What is it? Not made editable, basically. Because you might want to come back and readjust this, or you might want to come back and, you know, do something to this differently, you know, as far as the organization of the bones and stuff are concerned, if you don't like it, or if something comes up and the character needs to be configured in a slightly different way. And so the problem with the Lumiere Rig Tools is you can't have a character object like this and then have another character in the scene, this edited character in the scene as well, because they'll both have the same bone naming convention, and Lumiere Rig Tools will get confused. They won't know which bone to exactly weight to because you have two bones that are the same exact name. Same goes for your templates, actually. Make sure that your template bone naming convention and your actual naming convention for your character is slightly different. Otherwise, you won't be able to successfully transfer weights. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually create another copy here, save as, and we'll save as O2. And we're going to go ahead and make the character object editable. And in our O1 version, we have the uneditable version, or the unmade editable version, so that we can use that if we need to go backwards. And so we're going to delete these selection tags here real quick. We're going to delete this retarget and espresso. We're going to delete the motion builder skeleton here. We're going to move this out of the hierarchy of the character. We don't really need that, null. And we're going to get rid of this right hand and left hand down here at the end of the hierarchy. And that'll get rid of all the unnecessary stuff that we don't need from the character object. Only thing we really need is just the bones. I like to rename this rig. You can just leave it as is. You can call it whatever you want, really. Just note in my naming template that it actually uses rig as the root, so that's how it's going to recognize and be able to include that in your naming template. But if you name it something different, you can just copy it over. And I'm going to copy this right into testa 2, and this is going to make it really easy for us to later use her character in another scene or something like that when she needs to interact with another scene in a production pipeline. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and save this, and now we're set and ready to go. So we can run the Lumiere Rig Tools, which I have docked into my interface here, or you can go to plugins and run it from here as well. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you can do one of two things. You can either load the naming template, and because we used the motion builder naming template, it automatically loads everything up. That's really great. Or, as you guys will do probably most of the time if you have custom rigs, is you'll probably go ahead and actually want to start dragging controls in here, and you'll want to build up your own naming template. So now be careful about the naming convention here versus your naming convention. I have this named in a way that it's kind of easy for just like about everybody who has a different type of rig to typically, you know, figure out what is what. But you have to bear in mind with the motion builder naming template that the spine is actually spine 1 on this naming template. Spine 1 is actually spine 2, and the chest is actually spine 2. You know, so just just keep that in mind. It can get kind of tricky sometimes with that. You may be looking, you may be like, I don't know what's going on, you know, I don't have what I need. Also bear in mind with your bones as well that, you know, you may in some occasions have like a spine. Maybe you're using a character that has like a lot more spine bones than my naming template has. You just want to kind of sort of just pick, you know, what are the most essential spine bones that need controllers attached to them, basically. And that'll kind of sort of, that'll work for you. Alright, so moving on to the left thigh. We're going to go ahead and grab the left up leg and drag that in. Now, I've been working on a version of the plugin which would autofill the right side of the controls for you, but it's been a little bit buggy of late, and you know, because I know a few of you have already bought this. We're releasing a version of the plugin that I know works, and in the next coming week or so, I'll be releasing out a update that make this process a lot faster. Basically, when you drag the leg control, or you drag any left control in here, it'll automatically fill in the right side for you. Alright, for now we have to do this one by one. So left arm, left forearm, left hand. Let's grab the right side, right arm, right forearm, and right hand. Okay, and then this gets kind of annoying with the fingers. In the version that's not really working, what this actually does is when you bring in the left thumb, it actually fills in. It understands the numbers as well, so it actually fills in left thumb 2 and 3 for you, and it'll come in and actually fill in the right thumb 1, 2, and 3 for you as well. So basically, get 6 for the price of 1. But we'll go through and we will fill these out. And you're kind of getting the hang of it a little bit here. So let's come back in just a moment and go ahead and work on the transfer rig. Alright, so we've got the whole entire character rig filled out. And we're going to go over to the transfer rig, and that's going to be our Genesis rig. So we're going to come over here, and what you can do is you can shift double click on the weight tag and bring up the weights manager. You can go under display and show all your joints, draw all joints, and that'll draw all the joints automatically for you all the time. Without that turned on, you would have to actually click on a joint to see its weight, and all the rest of the rig would be black, which can be a useful view mode sometimes. But in this particular case, we want to see everything. What we can do is we can mouse over our different joints, and we can see, you know, where the weight is on some of these joints. And we can see that we have a few joints that are going to be a little tricky, like the carpal. That doesn't exist in our motion builder naming template. Can also see certain areas like the pelvis here, which is beneath the skirt, but we don't really have any weight on our hip bone for the Genesis character. It's kind of just sort of like a helper bone in that system. The pelvis is truly where the weights for the hip is. So, you know, using this, just kind of inspecting your rig overall and kind of getting an idea of where everything is in your rig, give you a good idea of how you want to fill out this transfer template for transferring your weights over to your custom character. So I've included some auxiliary joints here, and what these will allow you to do is they'll allow you to transfer those really oddball bones that don't necessarily correspond to whatever rig you're trying to transfer to. Alright, so for something like the carpals and like the pectorals, for instance, which in the Genesis rig allow you to use bone deformations to do some interesting breast physics, but as I'll be teaching you a little bit later, we can use things like the jiggle deformer and stuff like that to actually get our breast physics going, which they produce a much better deformation than using bones. So, but in our particular case, what we're going to do instead is we're going to actually take these pectorals and we're going to make them a part of the chest. We can do that with the auxiliaries. We can come in here, we can grab the right pectoral and the left pectoral, and we can go ahead and grab the carpals for the left hand. We've only got 5, so we're going to have to run this a couple of times to get all the bones. But we can go ahead and grab the left ones to start with, and then just remember that we need to grab the right ones later. And that'll take care of most of those. And so this is the transfer rig. Now we need to tell it, well, what auxiliary one bone is it going to transfer to? So in the character rig, we want the pectorals to be on the chest. So we can come and grab our chest from our rig, which is going to be spine 2 in our particular case for our rig. And there we go. So now the pecs will both get transferred to the spine. And the carpals, well, we want to transfer them to the left hand, so that the left hand inherits that weight from those two. And there we go. Alright, now for the rest of the rig, it's business as usual. We can come in here and we can grab the, not the hips. We just checked and we realized that the pelvis is actually the hips in terms of weighting. Go ahead and grab the left thigh, the left shin, the foot. We can grab the toe. That's going to be the ball of the foot for the Genesis rig, and the left toe is going to be the big toe. We can grab the spine 1 is going to be abdomen, and spine 2 is going to be abdomen 2, and the chest is going to be chest, neck is going to be neck, and the head is going to be head. The right thigh, the right shin is going to be the knee, foot, and so forth and so on. And we can keep filling this out. Let's move over to our we have our abdomen here. Here we go. Here's our collars and whatnot. So if we close up the neck, we got some easy access here to the collarbones and the hand bones and all that nonsense. So let's grab the left shoulder. That's going to be our left shoulder. Left forearm is going to be our elbow, and the hand is going to be our hand. On the right side of things, we've got the right shoulder is going to be our right shoulder. The right elbow is going to be our right forearm, and right hand is going to be right hand. And now we can move on to the hands. Left 2, and left 3. And the indexes. Alright, and so we'll come back when I've finished out this. And so here we are. We have a completely finished Genesis template here for transfer. And so what we can do now is we can go over to our tools and we can go ahead and run the execute button on the weights transfer. And so if we hit that, it's going to go ahead and close, and that's going to kind of give us an indication that it finished. So it's a pretty quick procedure there. And what it's going to do is it actually creates a duplicate of your rig right here called Tested to Mesh Weight Transfer. So it's basically the name of your rig with weight transfer added on to the end of it. Creates a weight tag for you, which has all the bones that you added to your template via those menus, and everything else is intact. You can hide the original Tested to Mesh. And if we go ahead and shift double click on the weights, we'll see that all the weights got transferred over to the new mesh, like so. Obviously we're missing a few. The carpals and it looks like our collarbones also need to be transferred either to the arms or to the chest. I think we're going to go ahead and transfer them to the chest. On our left side, because we made all those configuration changes as far as the auxiliary controls were concerned, everything got transferred over there quite nicely. And our pectorals here, which would normally be black if we hadn't included them in the auxiliary, are nicely filled out. They're all weighted perfectly to the chest. So great. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And we're going to go ahead and run the Lumiere Rig Tools one more time. And we're going to go ahead and do the rest of the auxiliaries here. So we can go ahead and grab the, we need to do the right side carpals. And we need to do the left and the right collars. So let's grab the collar left, and the collar right. And actually we put those into the wrong template. Collar right and the collar left need to go into auxiliary 2, or into the auxiliaries under the transfer rig, and here we want to transfer them to the chest. So spine 2 and spine 2. Now we want to transfer the right and left carpals to the right hand. So let's go ahead and grab our right hand. And then let's go ahead and grab our carpals. So it's carpal 1 and carpal 2. And then what else are we missing? Just the right collar. Wait, no, right collar, left collar. Right carpals. We're not really missing anything else as far as weights. The eyes, we could actually use this to transfer the eyes too if we wanted to as well. It's just that, of course, in our motion builder bone, we don't, or motion builder template, we don't actually have eyes. So probably won't be able to transfer that weight quite yet. All right. And so let's do this. And it looks like it worked. Let's see. All of our weights are copied over quite nicely. Our carpals made it over. And everything looks great. Excellent. Let's just check the feet real quick. Let's go ahead and hit save as well. And yep, the feet have all their weights. And so, it's good looking. Alright, so, and actually just to make sure, the skirt as well, yep, those have their weights too. Excellent. Alright, and so now, go ahead and hit save again. We are ready to go ahead and add our rig to this. So what we can do is we can close the weights transfer, and that's going to put us back in normal color here. And you could actually technically now go ahead and actually get rid of the original Genesis bone system, as well as the original mesh if you wanted to. And you know, just copy the old mesh or the new mesh over here into the hierarchy. If you have a weights tag, you're going to need a skin deformer in order to actually deform your character. So we can go ahead and create a skin deformer and drag it underneath here. That's under character skin. We could go ahead and rename her. Bear in mind, once you rename this character and edit it, you're basically not going to be able to use the auxiliaries anymore to transfer weights over. Basically what's going to happen is it's going to create a whole nother mesh based on this mesh that's going to have weight transfer attached to it. So just bear in mind that you want to finalize your weight transfer before you actually go ahead and start renaming things. Okay. And so what we can finally do is load up the Lumiere Rig Tools here and go into our load name template, and we can load up our motion builder naming template since it's it matches the rig that we created just a few moments earlier. And we can go under tools, and we can finally just go ahead and just execute the rigger. And that's going to go ahead and create a rig for us. We can go ahead and minimize Lumiere Rig Tools because we're going to need them in just a second to set the poles. But we can see here is that we have a auto rig created for us. In our hierarchy, we can also see that the riggers went through and done a little bit of housekeeping for us. Created some constraints, a few IK tags, and generally hooked everything up for us to this controller setup that I've created for you. Alright, so one of the first things we're going to want to do is we're going to take our controller selection object here, which has all our controls under it, and we can double click that, and we can go ahead and under coordinates freeze all our transformations. It's going to give us 0 transformations for all of our controllers, which will allow us to do some really cool things. We can come in here now and we can start to move our hand around. You can see that it's weighted, and you know, we can kind of screw this up and get this in. Well, how are we going to get back to our original pose? Well, we can hit the PSR reset, and because we froze all of those transformations, that position of the hand is our 0 position, which is really great. We could also just right click on these. Say we could put this hand at 50, for instance, and then we could right click on the little arrows here and snap these back to 0. So we know 0 is our starting point, and then we can minimize the freeze transformations out of there. Just froze our coordinates there for us and gave us a nice 0 offset. So that's great. And come over here and we can start to play with a few of these controls. The hips work perfectly here. They'll rotate, PSR reset to set those back. Come over here to say the chest and rotate it, and we'll see that the chest rotates very nicely and twists very nicely, like so. And PSR reset that. Come over here to the head and move that around, and we can see that that moves around quite nicely. And yeah, everything is pretty awesome. Alright, the rigger also has a visual selector included in the system. And so what we're going to want to do with the visual selector is it comes into your scene in edit mode, which is kind of important because when you use this on multiple different characters, Cinema 4D for some particular reason does not remember what was entered here for the image, and so it gets you're not able to actually be able to visually select, you know, your hand, your right hand, your foot, and your right foot. So you're going to want to go ahead and find those images. Now, I'm kind of lucky in the sense that I've used this a couple of times, so I already have my my pictures kind of sort of stored in some of my characters, and I can just go to one of my older characters and kind of just sort of pull those out. But for you, the visual selection icons are going to be located at this folder location. The way I found that was pretty simple. If we go to, say, our C drive and start there, come into our program files, we can go into Maxon, and I know that the visual selection icons are here somewhere. They're installed by default with Maxons, with Cinema 4D. So what we can do is we can type like foot, and we can go ahead and it's going to go ahead and hunt down everything that has foot in it, and there's our visual selection things right there. Vice versa, if we type in hand, it's going to go ahead and find everything that has hand in it, and if we just move down a little bit, we'll see them right here. So we can right click that and do open file location, and we could technically copy this address, hit Win key E to open up a Windows Explorer window. We can go directly there, and we can go ahead and grab all of those and bring them into our texture folder for Cinema 4D, or we can just open them here, which is what I'm going to do now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and grab the left hand because that's what we have selected here. It's going to ask if we want to copy the file to our project, and in most cases, yes, this is what I want to do because I want to have these available to me in my project. That way, if I move the project over to the Mac or to Linux or somewhere else, everything is still kind of sort of all together, and I can keep animating this character with these nice visual selections. The right hand, we're going to go ahead and grab that, and always yes here for this. Left foot, grab the left foot, hit yes, and the right foot, grab that and hit yes. And there we go. And if we go into animate mode now, the visual selection tool is ready for us. So if we go into tag, we'll see that we have a nice visual selector, kind of similar to Motion Builder, which we can tear off actually. And this way we can actually always have it available to us while we work on other controls and do other things in our scene. And I usually keep this docked to my second screen while I'm animating. But we go into our view default, we can go ahead and grab our chest, move it around, PSR reset it, go ahead and grab our hips, move those around, PSR reset those, go ahead and grab our hands, we can start to animate that. And PSR reset those. And so that's my favorite way of selecting controls. The controls just are really tricky to grab here sometimes. You've got some foot controls here. Foot itself, as you can see, it actually goes straight up into the air instead of at an angle like this. If you had kept that angle when we were initially setting things up, it would have came up like this. When you grabbed it, it would have came up at an angle off, and it would have been really weird. Alright. And so that does that for that. That's pretty much the extent of the Lumiere Rig Tools themselves. Now, this is highly customizable. I've kind of made it lowest common denominator here. All the controls are basic spline objects, and they're not editable yet. So what we can do is we can actually go ahead and make the hips editable, for instance. Just hit our make editable button or hit C, and now it's actually a spline object. So what you could actually do is you don't want to actually manipulate the axis directly of this object, so you don't want to actually move it around back and forth. Instead, what you want to do is you want to go into points mode, and in points mode you can come in here, Control A, and you can start to manipulate the points of this control and get them more closer to how you want your character. If you, for some particular reason, you want the control to be way off here, you could do that, and then you could do that, and the control itself, because you didn't manipulate the axis, it still is able to control the object that is able to control, but now you have an easier way to select it if you wanted to. Let's go ahead and hit Control Z a couple of times to get that back to where it was. Same thing with the hands. You could shape these out to be more in the shape of a hand. You could rotate them around so that they, oops, we're going to, right, we want to grab the hand, we want to make it editable first, and then we can grab the points, and we can shape this so that the control actually is facing more in a kind of sort of direction we would like it to face, maybe with the point coming down this way, and then we can grab like these and scale those down, so they're more, and you can do whatever you want with these. Very highly customizable. Alright, and in that way, when we rotate this control now, we have more of an indication now of exactly where our hand is pointing, which is really great. Okay, so the rig is not complete. Because different people like to set their poles in different kind of sort of ways, depending upon, what kind of character it is and whatnot. I have separated the pole functionality from the rigger execute functionality. So it snaps the poles directly to the pole locations, the elbow and the knees, but it doesn't actually set up the wiring so that you can actually control your character's poles. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set up our poles exactly where we want them to be. So we can go ahead and grab the knee poles here, for instance. You can go ahead and move those out. And this would be the normal location that they would be set up. I like to have my poles off to the side here. So that's the reason why I kind of sort of separated that functionality, because it allows me to, set my poles up the way I want them to be, and then complete the rigging process. The elbow poles, though, I do like them to be off directly. So I just grab both of those and move them in the Z-axis. And once your poles are exactly where you want them to be, you can go ahead and do set poles. And that'll finalize out the pole functionality. As you can see, you've got the little purple thing now coming off. And now these poles will work like a dream. If we go ahead and grab the pole, you can see that now the elbow indeed follows the poles. Vice versa, the knees will follow the direction of the knee controls perfectly. And that's it for the Lumiere Rig Tools. So that's pretty much what they do, and they just allow you to quickly get your characters in here and be able to animate things. My philosophy behind this, of course, you've got things like turbulence FD and X particles in here. You've got thinking particles and different things like that. And in Motion Builder, you can't actually see your character's feet, make a footprint in sand or something like that, like you can here in Cinema. You can design a deformer to do that. And, in Motion Builder, you might get your animation pretty much 90% of the way there. But you want to come into Cinema and you just want to make sure maybe in a particular shot you need to be able to see the feet, and you need to be able to see them making footprints in the sand. And you want to just, get that tight control over where that foot is placed, or, you might be dealing with flame. Maybe you're dealing with having her manipulate some flame in her hands, and you just need to be able to just tightly control where exactly it's flowing through that fire simulation. Or you might need to do something with cloth. You might be doing cloth with her, and different things like that. It's just, it keeps you in Cinema. It keeps you, keeps you animating at your tip top. And I just found that the character object just wasn't allowing me to quite get that detailed in the structure of things. I needed a lot more control over, what my rig does. And this rig is totally and completely editable at this point. It's not hidden behind any sort of complex system, so you can add more constraints. You can parent more objects onto this, and we can easily re-add eye controls, re-add a joint control. The rig system already also copied your tags and everything like that, so your materials are intact. And you've got your pose morphs there intact, so you've still got the ability to animate with your pose morphs. And, pretty much it. And of course, the Cinema system itself, if you go under Manager and you go to Weights, you go to Vamp, this system doesn't actually transfer weights between weights between two different bone hierarchies. So it basically transfers weight between the same bones. So you would have to be using the Genesis bones for both of your different meshes. Whereas this system will actually transfer weights between one completely different bone system to a different bone system. So, those were some of the limitations that I ran into here in Cinema that were preventing me from being able to really, get in and do some serious animation. And, now that I have the tools here, I'm able to, quickly get on the road with my productions and just quickly develop characters. One more thing, yeah, just showing off the hand controls here. We can come in now, and if we get out of world mode, because these work a little bit better in local, we can come in here, and we can twist the hands too. So we've got this really, really nice, very, very, very fine-tuned control over, our fingers as well. Something that, we're just missing, especially in the motion builder like tutorials. Getting the hand curl right, and messing with props and stuff like that can get tricky in motion builder sometimes, especially when you have to interact very, very tightly with objects here in Cinema, like tables and stuff like that. And it's just nice to be able to do it all here. It's nice to not even have to really go in a motion builder. So in another tutorial, a couple of new tutorials, I've been dealing with Cinema 4D to Cinema 4D to Arnold a lot lately. I'm part of the beta team there, and it's been really fun. We've been, between the volumetrics and a lot of the other different things that have been going on with that, the look dev, the interactive preview renderer, just the ability to be able to quickly and speedily, just design your character's look. It's completely revolutionized how I work here in Cinema, and I wanted to wait till that came out before I kind of sort of released this. But I know a lot of you have been buying this lately, and you guys have been waiting for this for a long time. I announced this plugin in August, and I've been developing it ever since. It's taken a while to get it to a state where I actually really liked it and I felt like I could release it. But I believe Cinema 4D to Arnold will be coming out very, very, very soon. I think it's supposed to come out back in March. It's just they've been working out the kinks. There have been a few bugs, and we've been working out really hard on it. I've been giving them a lot of feedback. Some of the other guys that have been working on it have been giving Arnold a lot of feedback. And so it should be out soon. It's a really amazing tool. I've been using it to do a lot of really cool images that I can't quite show you quite yet for a DC versus Marvel project. Actually, if you look it up on Facebook, a lot of my images are there that I've been doing for it. I've been using the Lumiere Rig Tools to kind of sort of design some of the assets for that, and I've been using Arnold to pretty much do the look and do all the special effects and stuff for that. I've also been using Nuke a lot lately, Cinema 4D, and I've been using Houdini to do a lot of the fluid simulations for that as well, along with some Maya stuff as well that I'll be going over very, very soon. So guys, thank you for purchasing the plugin. If you have, I really appreciate it. It helps me be able to put more of these tutorials out. Helps me be able to buy more tools so that I can do more educational stuff on those tools and show you guys how to really get a production pipeline going and get these different characters out and get animating and just have a real blast developing short films and long form films. So that's it for me today. I'll probably be putting an article out on my website about some of the things that I've been discovering over the last couple of months. This version of the plugin will be up there on the site as well, and I believe sometime next week I should be implementing some of those helpful features that have currently been kind of sort of giving me a few problems. That'll allow you to be able to rig these characters a lot more faster with the Lumiere Rig Tools. As always, I also have a donation button on my website as well, so if you really like my tutorials, just $1 here, $1 there really helps. I really like soda and coffee and sandwiches, so just give me one, guys, and thanks so much. You guys take care.